Okay, 3 things before we start this episode. Thing number 1, we're so close to 100,000 subscribers. Do not ignore this message. If you're on the YouTube, hit subscribe. Let's get to 100,000 subscribers. It's not obligatory, but hey, it's as close to it. Okay. Number 2, we're raising money this month for Spot Project. We're helping to give, the money goes towards education, healthcare, and food for orphans. Givebright.com/FG is a link. And we have currently reached £10,328. I've just seen this, that we've hit the 10K mark, alhamdulillah. So we've upped it to 15K. Wow. Jazakallah khair, guys. Thank you so much for your donations. We've been getting some big donations in recently. We had $1,335 from someone in Canada. And then we had another... Yeah, we've had some big donors, alhamdulillah, which has been lovely. So thank you for that. But please help us with that. And then thing number 3 is the newsletter. So we've started a Freshly Grounded newsletter. Right now, it's me every few days or once a week at the bare minimum, writing a newsletter on email to you guys. The idea of the newsletter is just something that's colloquial, something that's like chill, but it's like some kind of benefit in the newsletter, some updates, some thoughts, and it's enjoyable. So please do join the newsletter. Go to freshlygrounded.com/email to join our newsletter if you want to hear from me more regularly with some high quality fire in your inbox. With that being said, this week's episode of Freshly Grounded is me chopping it up with you. Enjoy. Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Welcome to episode 318 of Freshly Grounded. It's a solo episode with just me today. You're welcome. And we're going to have a little bit of a natter, a little bit of a chinwag about a couple bits and bobs. It's the last 10 nights of Ramadan. And so I was actually thinking to not put out an episode. Because I thought, why add to distraction when it's a time where every moment is to be seized? Every second is to be attained. I don't know what I'm going with. But I decided to put an episode out because I was like, consistency. And if there's one thing, we don't have much sometimes going for us here at Freshly Grounded. So at the very least, consistency is what we've had, alhamdulillah, for over 6 years. So I thought, let's put something out because you don't know. There might be some people who I think who for some reason want to listen to Freshly Grounded on in the last 10 nights. I'm joking. Hopefully there's many of us. We're in this together. We're a team. Okay, so I thought there's a few. I'm just keep looking over at the audio interface because I'm going to stop. Otherwise I'm going to get paranoid. If the audio is good, it's good. If it's bad, it's bad. We won't know until you guys are watching it. Okay, so did I say let's get this party started already? We're going to talk about a few different bits and bobs. And I thought, what can I talk about, essentially? And then I thought, well, I'll talk about what I'm talking about in the newsletters because I want to plug the newsletter. So we're taking newslettering seriously now at Freshly Grounded. And every few days or every week or whatever, I'm writing a newsletter personally. It's by me so far because that's all I've got. And so if you're not a member of the Freshly Grounded newsletter, join it. You go to freshlygrounded.com/email. The link will be in the description. And it's basically every few days or at least once a week, I'm shooting out an email that's meant to be super light-hearted, which actually this week's one isn't, but like light, easy to read, relaxed and colloquial, humorous. There's some GIFs, there's some memes, and hopefully you get some benefit from it. So the idea is that we're just, putting a party in your inbox essentially every now and again. So if you're a fan of that kind of thing, head over to freshlygrounded.com/email and join the growing list. Right now we're 5,000 strong. I want to reach 20,000. I should put a public number of where we're at basically. So let's see. But anyway, the topic that I thought about discussing was the topic of fame and money, but I don't have a script. I don't have bullet points. So it could end up going into anything. But right now, the idea is to talk about fame and money. And so I will start with sharing a anecdote that's in the newsletter this week. So if you're a member of the newsletter, you would have probably seen it already. So this is what I wrote. A good friend of mine sent me a voice note some time back, and as I went to message him on WhatsApp the other day, I saw it and realized I never listened to his voice note. The truth is, Allah saved it for me to hear now. It's pretty powerful. Here's what he said. And then I put his voice note into a transcriptor because I'm lazy rather than writing it out myself. And I got it to write the script of, I got it to like transcribe what he said, and then I've condensed it, which I'm probably going to do even further before sending this newsletter out. And I also replaced some words, kind of like, because when you're talking in conversation, you say the word like a lot or whatever. So I just like made it more digestible. So here's what he said. So he said, so a really good concept to discuss on a podcast is the concept of, I want to get more money so I can give more charity and I can seek knowledge, etc. Then he said, it's interesting because the way I see it is that you want to change your financial situation so you can worship Allah, but instead of working so hard and spending years to try and change your financial situation to worship Allah, why don't you just worship Allah now? That's one of the words I changed, by the way, because he said, why don't you just worship Allah when you're poor? But I feel like that's not very like digestible by in a voice note. Some people might misconstrue that, but this is a very sincere brother. I know that he didn't mean like to at any of us. Why don't you just worship Allah now? If that is truly the end objective, that my only objective through this is actually to worship Allah, which, by the way, obviously our end objective of everything should just be that to worship Allah, right? Like if we're really A1 Muslims, which is obviously difficult, but that is the reason we're on this planet, on this earth, is just purely to worship Allah, right? Okay, so he carries on. We spend our whole lives just trying to change our situation instead of trying to worship Allah through our current situation. And what happens is that life passes by. We spent it trying to change situation. Let me add to that. I'll add it later. We spent it trying to change the situation. We actually didn't worship Allah at all when we had the opportunity to do so. So I think there's something hidden inside us, because I also have these thoughts like everyone else. I think there's something hidden inside us where actually the intention is not just to worship Allah. The intention is to live a relaxed life and to have people look up to you and say, oh, this guy's got money, he's got a business, and so on and so forth. And also to worship Allah on the side. I have a blocked ear, guys. I don't know about you, but when I have a blocked ear, the only way to get rid of it is to like dip my head down low. I actually can't hear myself speak and it's frustrating me. Give me a second. Okay, that's better. If you're watching on YouTube, you probably think, what the heck did you do? Okay, well, now I can hear myself. It's a bit better. It's going to come back in a second. Right. So he said, maybe our intention is not just to worship Allah, is to live a relaxed life, to live a luxurious life, and then like also worship Allah as well. So then he continues. But what we're saying is that I want to worship Allah, and in reality, you have the opportunity to worship Allah now. So if that was really the end objective, you just run straight to the end objective, right? Like imagine you're trying to get somewhere and you have the opportunity to get there straight away. You would just go straight away if that's really what you wanted to do in the first place. So I think there's something hidden inside all of us, inside our hearts, that actually corrupts that intention. At least that's what I think for me anyway. And Allah knows best. End quote. So that really got me thinking. I was like, wow, like this is so profound. It's true. And so I want to get your guys' thoughts on it. Comment in the comment section what you think. I think inevitably, like you'll have some people, I hold back the thought. If you're going to comment and say, well, that's not true. Like there's nothing wrong with like earning money and having a good life and this Sahabi was rich, and you can do so much good with your money. I think like we all agree with that. And I think that's one of the hard things about having a platform in the Muslim world, is that Islam is perfect, and Allah knows what is in people's hearts, and people don't necessarily, and people are quick to jump on like, oh, but what about the opposite being true? And I think we all accept that. I think like we always talk about business on Freshly Grounded. I'm running a marketing agency. I'm working at Tortil as a marketing manager. So I think we all agree that, there's goodness in, obviously, the upper hand is better than the lower hand, and we should try and strive and have a good life and provide for our family. We agree with that, but ultimately I think the point is that if you strip everything away, our goal is simply, when we die, we want to stand in front of Allah on the Day of Judgment, knowing that our sole purpose on the earth was to worship Him and to gain reward. And, that's why there's various narrations like saying, if I could only go back, for an hour, and so on and so forth. Like, we don't want to go back with a regret. So yeah, let me know your guys' thoughts on that. And just on that topic of like the opposite being, like not the opposite being true, but the idea that, some of you might want to instantly comment and be like, oh, that's such a one way of thinking, like there's nothing wrong with having money. I think this is the beautiful thing about Islam, and it's one of my favorite things about Islam, along with everything else in Islam, is that loads of what we would think to be the opposite thing can be true at the same time. Loads of opposite things can be true at the same time. If you've watched the podcast for long enough, I'm terrible at articulating myself. Loads of things can be true that on the surface, on the face of it, seem like contradictions, but they can all be true at the same time. And that's the beauty of Islam. And the further beauty of that is that Allah knows and understands because He created us. And the people, and we're weak, and we have our nafs, and we're defensive, and we don't understand that as much all the time, including me. A common thing that I always think about is that I've spoken about on Fresh Ground before, was when the young person came up to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and asked if he could kiss his wife or show affection to his wife, and he was told that he wasn't allowed. And then an older man came, asked the same question, and he was told that he could. And then the Sahaba asked the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam why. Essentially, is there one ruling for him and one ruling for him? And it was that, well, an older man, there's not a risk that he's gonna. There's a smaller risk that he's gonna. Delve into his desires, because as an old man, your desires are less and they're not as strong, and as a young person they're quite strong, and so you don't want to like fall down into that path and then break your fast, right? Because it was pertaining to fasting. And so that's an example, like a very real example of like two things being true at the same time. And there's such a big thing in our religion put on wisdom, hikmah, and the shuyukh, when you get to know them, you'll see that they'll give different rulings to different people depending on their situation, depending on the time and stuff like that. And I've said it before and I'll say it again, I've been humbled so much by Islam. And so like I'll think something is so true, and then because it's like so clear cut, and then like I'll be like humbled because someone will tell me like, oh, like because of XYZ. It's not necessarily the case. The point I'm getting at is that it can be, what this brother wrote to me, I think is completely true and right. And it can also be true and right that we should strive to make a lot of money. And both can be true at the same time. But ultimately, I think the truest thing is that we do ultimately just want to worship Allah. And if that's the case, then we should always look at what is the most direct way of doing that. Or at the very least, I think we should just be more attentive with, and more intentive, like, is that a word? But have more intention with everything we do. So then at least everything you do, you're worshipping Allah. I was having a conversation with a brother yesterday, and we were walking back from the mosque from Maghrib, and I was saying to him that if we want to, these steps that we're taking away from the masjid can be an act of worship for us. But if we're intentional with it. Because we were going back to our families to eat with them, and then we would come back to the mosque for Isha. And you could say, well, okay, well, what's better? To stay in the masjid between Maghrib and Isha, or to go back to your family and eat with your family? Well, for different people, it would be different, I guess, because it depends on your situation. If you're in a situation like me, where it's our first year doing Ramadan in a different country, we're all alone. There's just the four of us, me, my wife, and my two children. And so right now I'm conscious of the fact that I have to be more sensitive to spending more time with my family, because there's no opportunity for them to spend time with their parents and stuff like that. And so maybe, I'm not saying it is, but maybe for me right now, there's more benefit in going to the masjid, coming home, eating with my family, giving some time to my family, and then going back to the masjid. And the way I can get that reward is if I'm intentional about it. If I'm walking away from the mosque with the intention of pleasing my family, for example. So, yes, that was an interesting thing. So I reflected on it on the episode. So give me your guys' thoughts. Put your comments in this in the vid, and also comments on the newsletter. You can reply back to the newsletters, by the way. We're going to keep this episode short as well, because it's Ramadan. It's the last 10 nights. And also, I'm going to get a dry mouth because I'm actually recording this episode on the Friday. So I just walked back from Jummah, and I had to sit underneath the AC for like 20 minutes when I got home just to cool down. And all I can dream about and think about right now is an ice cold lemonade. That's all I want. Okay, so we said that this episode was going to be about fame and money, and we've spoken a bit about money. Let's speak about fame. So I was thinking about this because I saw some Ramadan vlogs this Ramadan, right? And I'm watching them, and I'm like in like deep FOMO. I'm like, oh man, like I used to love making vlogs, and I used to see it as sometimes my only outlet to be like my true self. Like I can be a bit silly, I can keep my guard down, I can just be relaxed, and I enjoyed it. And also I enjoy creating content, obviously, like it's essentially what I do for a living. And so I was watching these vlogs, I was like getting FOMO, and then I was like, you know what, I'm going to create a Ramadan vlog. Because like there's so much I could vlog, I guess, right? And I was like, well, maybe there's not, because like the way my life is now is like very orientated around my family right now. Obviously, like we've moved to another country. And so I don't necessarily want to put my kids in vlogs and stuff. So it's like 90% of the time I'm either at the mosque or I'm in my office. And the office in London is fun to vlog because there's obviously loads of people. The office in Dubai is this, and it's just me all the time. So there'll be no content. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. So I was like, I'm going to film a Ramadan vlog. I'll figure out how I can do it. Yeah. Because I just like love creating content, and I feel like I can create some fun content and stuff like that. And then I didn't end up doing it. One of the reasons is I've been so busy with work. But another reason is, well, this is another conundrum, no reason, but a conundrum that I've had for years now is this idea of, should I be on social media? Should I even have an Instagram account? As you guys will know, I like deleted my Instagram account like at least 3 times in the past, like, few years. The longest stint was like 8 months, or maybe even almost a year. But then obviously the nafs is the nafs. The heart wants what the heart wants. And so sometimes I'm like, well, at my core, what is it that I'm good at? I'm like, maybe what I enjoy is like creating content. And if I just was going as hard at content now as I was, all those years ago, maybe I'd be seeing the fruits of that labor. But what are the fruits of that labor? What do I mean by that? What is it? Attention, following? Is that what I want? I don't know. So anyway, so I'm going through this thought process at that point, and I was thinking, I want to create a vlog just because it's what I enjoy doing. Then what happened is I thought, well, why is it for the past few years I've been in and out of creating content? I've been so inconsistent. If you see my YouTube channel, I'll upload a video and then I won't upload a video for months and months or years. And the same with my Instagram. I'll like upload a post and then I won't upload a post for months and months. And that wasn't me before. And it's also not my natural state. We always have these conversations in my family, like, oh, this person's naturally an introvert and this person's naturally an extrovert. My natural state is that I am an extrovert. My natural state is that I love oversharing. And there's like these videos that you guys would have seen in the past of like me when I was like 3 or 4 years old, like dancing in front of the whole family, trying to entertain. And I just love the idea of, I think ultimately if I like strip it back, I love the idea of seeing seeing smiles on people's faces and knowing that I had something to do with that. And I love the idea of people having a good time and knowing that I had something to do with that. And so then I was like, okay, so why have I been so inconsistent over the past few years and stuff like that? And really what it boils down to is one hadith that I heard and I just cannot shake it off. I've got the ear thing again, so I'm going to dip my head down low in a second just so I can get it off. How weird is it that that's what fixes it? Does anyone know the science behind that? It's like if I've got a blocked ear, I've just got to like put my head like almost like below my knee, and then like it must be something to do with being close to gravity or something. Surely. All right. I think you guys know what hadith I'm going to mention, but hadith about 2 wolves. There you are. Okay. So I think this hadith was first said to me by Sheikh Muhammad Tim, but I might be wrong. Okay. This hadith changed my life. And I guess it's for the better because Allah says in the Quran, sometimes there is, let me get the exact quote, there is a thing that is good for you. Quran. Perhaps you dislike something which is good for you and you like something which is bad for you, and Allah knows and you do not know. The most incredible part of the ayah for me is that at the end it's like Allah knows and you do not know, because that's how I feel with this. Because I'm like, it is better for me to try and have a private life, and I don't know why, because my nafs or what I feel is my natural feeling is that I just want to be able to create and share and stuff. But then this ayah is just amazing. Perhaps you dislike something which is good for you and like something which is bad for you. Allah knows and you do not know. Wow. Anyway, so the hadith is that this hadith that like changed my perception of things and essentially like made me be a bit more like back off-ish with content. It says, Abu Hurairah reported, let's open it up properly. Sorry guys, I'm the king of cliffhangers here, really, aren't I? Okay. Abu Hurairah reported that the Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings be upon him, said, 2 ravenous, hungry wolves spending the night in a pen of sheep while its owners are negligent, bloodthirsty and eating, are not quicker to wreak havoc than the love of wealth and high status are to the religion of a Muslim. So let's break that down. Sheikh Muhammad Tim said to me something like, 2 ravenous, hungry wolves amongst a flock of sheep are less dangerous or to those sheep than what the love of wealth and fame are to the religion of a Muslim. I'm going to over-explain because that's just what I do. Because I know we all get it, but I'm going to over-explain. Imagine a situation where there's two hungry, ravenous wolves, and they see these sheep, and there's no owners to be found, and they can just like go at them and just get their bellies full. And at the end of it, imagine the scene, just dead sheep all over the gaff, right? That carnage is less than the carnage that you would do to your religiosity or to your religion if you love wealth and fame or wealth and high status. And I just can't shake that off. So that's like essentially the reason, and that's like why. And I remember bringing this. I had the opportunity one time to visit Sheikh Mohammed Tim, and I said, Sheikh, at some point, can you just give me some of your time I just want to sit with you and just talk things out. So we had like this like incredible therapy session, which I've been blessed to like have numerous times with him. But this particular time, he was like, talk to me, what's going on? And I said, well, sometimes I feel like deleting my Instagram, my social. This sounds like such a Gen Z problem, by the way, which I can appreciate. It does sound like that. And I'm not even Gen Z. I'm a millennial, I think. Yeah. I was born in 1994. So I'm like almost 30. Like, it's ridiculous that. But anyway, so there's bigger problems in the world, I agree. But the point is that it was something that was on my mind at the time. And I was like, sometimes I feel like I want to grow a brand. And there's so many reasons, like, going back to the message that we were just talking about intentions being corrupt when trying to make money. That was what I was thinking. I was thinking, well, if I can grow a brand around me, then essentially I can earn money and just live my life, and therefore live my life how I want to live my life, which is however I want to live my life. Whether that's go to the masajid, that someone like watching over me and checking, like me having to check in at a certain time, and being able to be around my kids, take my kids to appointments and not miss sports events for my children and stuff like that. And that is obviously still how I want to live. And alhamdulillah, Allah has blessed me to be able to live a life like that. But at that time, I suppose that was like in my head the only way that would be possible. So anyway, I was speaking to him about these things. I was like, I get these thoughts sometimes to like remove everything which feels more pure. But then I get the idea where I'm like, no, I understand how to make content, and so why not just do what Allah makes different things easy for different people, and why not just do that? Anyway, his advice to me was like, look, just do that through Freshly Grounded. You don't have to have a personal brand. You can build something essentially bigger than that and put that energy into Freshly Grounded, which kind of, I suppose, is like one of the reasons that we try and stay consistent at Freshly Grounded. This past year has been the busiest year of my life, the most challenging year in some respects. I mean, I would argue that a more challenging year was the year that my mum had cancer, but for sure, like in many ways, this has been a very challenging year. And that's because, I moved to a new country with my family. It wasn't super well planned. Like, we're figuring it all out. Then I was like, got this new role, and then like learning as I'm like in this new role with this new team, and then trying to balance that full-time role with still keeping Freshly Grounded going. And then we had the whole palaver with the game. We decided to stop the game to move our attention, and then like we put the game back on, and then that was great. Now it's sold out, so we have to figure that out. And then even with Freshly Grounded, still trying to figure out, like, we now know where we want to go with FG, and now it's a problem of, not problem, but like the question is, do we go down the route of getting private equity, which was initially like our thought, because we have all of these strategies and ways that we can grow it and like grow the team and stuff, but it needs private equity to do so. Or that was what we were thinking. And then we were like, actually, no, let's continue to bootstrap it. So I think that's what we're going to do, but I don't know, I'm still trying to figure that side of things out. But anyway, it's been a challenging year. And so throughout that year, it's like my head, I've been like, look, just be consistent with FG, just be consistent, because consistency is key. And again, that's based off an ayah or I think it's Hadith Qudsi, that's like, no, I think it's just a hadith, but anyway, the narration is Allah, the most beloved deeds to Allah are those that are consistent, even if they are small. And so, anyway, where was I going with this? So, okay, here's how I wanted to conclude it, because this is kind of like the end of the pod. How I wanted to conclude it was, if I'm honest with myself, as much as I love the idea of putting all of my life and time into content, I have actually been happier being less public. And I haven't even been less public in terms of Freshly Grounded. I've still been on every week of Freshly Grounded for 6 years in a row. But it's still, you've got still a bit of distance between that being like, if this was like the Faisal show, you know, it'd be a bit more, there wouldn't be that barrier. But Freshly Grounded is a brand, it's bigger than me. I want it to continue when I die, and so on and so forth. Anyway, so I've been happy. So I've been sleeping more at night. I've had less anxiety, because anxiety started creeping up. I'll be honest, was kind of that guy who was a bit like, well, like, anxiety, is it a real thing, but are we overusing the term and stuff like that? And then when I was like at the height of creating content, like, okay, so there was like a period of time until about 3 years ago where I was creating content consistently, and I went from 0 followers to like 35,000 on YouTube and Instagram in the space of like a year or whatever. And then it stopped there, and it's still there. Like, it's still just always been like around 35k. And when I was at the height of it, there was a period of time where I started getting really bad anxiety, because I started just being so conscious of what people would say about me and stuff like that. And or like I'd feel pressure to comment on everything and stuff. And then when I distanced myself from social media, the anxiety reduced substantially. So then that comes back to the ayah where it's like, Allah knows and you do not know. However, also one thing that's changed in that time is I've gotten older. And getting older is a beautiful thing, man. Every year that I'm older, I realize how young I was the year before. And that's something else that you learn, because when you have children, you get married, you're responsible for those children, you're responsible for paying those bills, you're responsible for earning, you're responsible for teaching them good lessons. But also outside of children, just as you grow older, you realize that you want to also act older. And the content I was creating is still me, but it's, sorry, the ear thing's happened again. But you want to be a respectable man and not always make jokes of yourself, or also give people ammo to constantly comment on you. Like here in this episode, I'm oversharing, right? But like I would overshare all the time. And so when you overshare all the time, it's like there's that barrier's not there. That finesse isn't there. That hidden aspect of people not really knowing, you know, and that gives you honor. And as much as Islam is super anti-arrogance, it is super pro honor and having some izzah. And that you learn when you grow older as well, because you're like, well, I just want to have a private life. I want to have some honor. I want to be respectable, and I want to be respected, and I want to respect others. And that comes from being quiet sometimes, or being a bit distant. So that's the pod, guys. That's the episode. It was about money. It was about fame. It was some reflections I've been having over the past week. And I hope it benefits in some way, because it was just me sharing some thoughts. But listen, guys, I really benefit from, and the team really benefits from, Freshly Grounded really benefits from, you guys interacting with us. And we're not always the best with getting back to, what's the word? Communication and stuff. At our height, we've been a 6-man team, and that's not full time. And, you know, at our lowest, we've been a 1-man team or a 1.5-man team. So, you know, but we do all, you know, whether it's Kareem in London, it's Kai over here, it's me, you know, Fawaz who does the packages, Hashim who does the editing. We see comments And we really enjoy interacting with you guys, even if sometimes to you guys it feels one way, it's not. And we'll try and be better at that. But do drop a comment. Let us know what your thoughts were on things that I mentioned, how you found this episode, which episodes have been your favorites, what episodes you want to see more of, and we'll get there. We will get there. With that being said, it's probably a bit unrealistic that we'll have an episode out next Friday, because I think next Friday is looking like it could be Eid. So if we don't have an episode next Friday, we'll see you in 2 weeks, inshallah. And if we do, might just put it out a bit early or something. Yeah, like an Eid episode. Maybe me and Sam or me and Kaya. We'll figure it out. But I'm tired. I need to maybe try and get a nap. Thanks for listening. As always, I was Faisal. Oh, join the newsletter, by the way. freshlyground.com/email. Donate to Spot. Givebright.com/FG. And that's the pod.